Therefore, it would be more than merely desirable for as many human beings as possible to take Billy's writings to hand and study them with an honest intention, and in particular his crowning work, The Goblet of Truth, in order to derive goodness, rightness and constructiveness for their own life and the community of all life forms from the wealth of exceedingly valuable teaching, guidelines and instructions that have their origin in the venerable teaching of Enoch. Basically, the human beings of Earth cannot thank Billy enough for their inestimable luck in having such an important prophet in their midst, one who entirely and often under almost inhumane circumstances and adverse conditions has written such important guidelines for life and a teaching for us human beings, so that if we follow them and apply them, the entirety of humankind would march forward into a better and happier future that they had worked out for themselves. A future in which the individual could shape and form his or her own life in a loving and constructive way. I, for my part, wish to express my most respectful and heartfelt thanks on behalf of all of earthly humankind for all the efforts and sacrifices that Billy has made in order to write all of his works and writings of the teaching of Spirit, that he has called into life for the development of humankind, so that, thanks to his work and efforts, we can create a valuable and good future for ourselves in which every human being will be able to lead a happy and satisfied life. With all my heart, and in profound connection and love, I wish Billy above all good health and well-being, as well as nothing but the most loving and best for the well-earned evening of his life. Guido Moosbrugger. In Billy we have a human being on this planet who has the confidence to speak the truth plainly and honestly. It is certainly not always simple to deal with the truth because all too frequently it sounds very harsh. The people affected by the truth often feel it as a personal attack, although this is not the case, because the truth only ever shows the facts of the situation and nothing more. Human beings are never attacked by it, because they can only advance in evolution along the path of making errors as has already been determined by creation itself. So this is why only the actions and deeds of human beings must be criticized, never the personality itself. For this reason, the human being in that situation in life needs the open word of truth, as has also been disclosed through effective love. Only because of pure love for the entire humankind of this planet Earth does Billy accept the attacks that unavoidably encounter him whenever he has once again expressed an extremely uncomfortable truth. We can regard ourselves as lucky to have a human being of this kind on our world because there are very few of this kind on Earth. The Goblet of Truth book makes a special contribution to finding the truth. Therefore I am personally extremely happy that Billy has set down this magnificent work in writing for the first time and recorded it for reading and study over hundreds and thousands of years to come. It is truly a gift to we human beings of Earth, we who urgently require instruction in the truth in order to liberate ourselves finally from the yoke of intramoural materialism and the numerous false teachings. False values are rife on our planet, in our consciousness, our genes, our thoughts and feelings, and in our psyche like weeds in an untended garden. Therefore, it is high time for us to learn again how to cultivate our consciousness, our thoughts and feelings and our psyche. To do this will not take so much at all, because everything starts by us changing our edifice of thought. However, we cannot do this with the many misleading teachings that are extant around our planet. Instead, we require the true creational thinking. We can recognize the effects of creation in nature and divine the corresponding laws from this, according to which we should then align our lives. However, for all of the external things that can be seen and recognized, there is also the vision of inner procedures that can only be felt, heard, seen and sensed. Besides the external image that we make of all concerns, it is important above all to recognize the inner values of everything. To do this, it is necessary to perceive the nuances that take place in the human being himself or herself, and to heed them. For example, intuition. In order to do this, however, the world needs to become quieter, without the level of frenzy that exists at present. A time of retreat and general meditation is required again. By doing so, human beings could also get to know themselves better and, at the same time, detect what it is that they do not like about themselves. This is because only this cognition brings them to the idea of wanting to change something, which is of course essential in the framework of evolution. The sense of life is in the development of the consciousness, to refine the entire content of the consciousness more and more, and perfect it. This wonderful book can certainly contribute to achieving the set creational task of further development, and it can teach us to direct our thoughts to sensible paths which are rich in content in order to banish the ugly thoughts from our consciousness that hinder evolution, and fill it with love, knowledge and wisdom. My thanks go to Billy for his painstaking work that was involved in writing this book. Elizabeth Moosbrugger. In the course of my evolution, whilst spending my life searching amongst the confusing ebbs and flows of the current time, I encountered the prophet of the new time. The teaching he has brought forth is the one I have selected for my home. Thanks be to him and his helpful extraterrestrial friends from me for the clear words and entire explanations that I look forward to taking into the future in the further course of my life. Andreas Schubiger, Turbenthal, 2.3.2008. Now, the great work had been completed, dear Billy. You have retrieved the complete Goblet of Truth from the storage banks. Although this sounds so simple, it was in reality a gigantic work of which you alone amongst citizens of Earth were and are capable. To write a book of 260 densely filled A4 pages within a few months and have it ready for printing is in itself a masterful achievement, whilst the task of downloading the teaching of 6 prophets of your predecessor personalities through the gigantic might of your consciousness from the storage banks, then formulating this data in a traditional way that would be understandable to us and putting into words the extensive teaching of the 7th prophet in accordance with Nochodemean's guidelines. This is simply something that is beyond our power of comprehension. We who have experienced you for decades in the center, we knew that you were always nothing but untiringly productive. During your work on the Goblet of Truth, you succeeded in increasing your commitment beyond that of any human extent, irrespective of your already severely compromised health situation, but this was of course the reason for your urgency. Dear Billy, you wise man amongst all the wise and culmination of your prophet line, you good, warm-hearted selfless friend and teacher, we thank you in respect and esteem, also in the name of all generations that will come after us. As I first read through this work, your latest to date and most extensive subsequent to the OM, I was somewhat overtaxed by the density and fullness of the information, despite much of already being familiar. I comforted myself with the thought that I do not have to cram everything into my head in this one life or implement it. The Goblet of Truth is, as had been said, a work which future human beings and all the peoples of this earth will orient themselves towards, even if they currently mock and laugh at it as the prophets, and, thanks to this, there will be peace on our planet at last in the far distant future. And this, dear Billy, is something that we have to thank you for. My thanks, the thanks of the entire core and passive group and all the people who wish you well, should not be exhausted in words, but should primarily find expression in that we are learning on the right path and striving for evolution in order to use your teaching that has grown out of the laws and recommendations of creation in order to enable us to set an example and help our fellow human beings, as you are for us, were and always will be, so that they also will find the way up to the truth and finally bring light to our world that is darkened by discord, hatred and wars. Bridget Keller, 1 March 2008. Is there anything more beautiful than drinking from a clear spring if one is thirsty after a lengthy period of wandering